All right, we're live. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. We are live on Women Who Lift Israel with a special guest, Danielle Salber. Thank you for joining us, Danielle.
Thank you for having me. I am so inspired by you on a regular basis. So when you asked me to do this,
Inspired
I
by
was like,
you.
yes, hell yes.
Thank you so much. So, to intro everyone to our group, my name is Sarah. I'm the co-founder of Women Who Lift Israel. We are a women-only Facebook community whose mission is to empower women through strength training. So, we started these live interviews to give all of you plenty of inspiration, motivation, advice, and tips from professionals and athletes in the field. The community is totally free and welcoming to ladies all around the world. So please feel free to join us. We will welcome you with open arms. And I'm so excited today to have this conversation with Danielle. For those who do not know Danielle yet, Danielle made Aliyah from America. She's a social worker, a trauma specialist, a personal trainer, and a Krav Maga-Boxing coach. Danielle has just launched a new, refreshing therapy model merging boxing and psychotherapy. And her boxing therapy caters to all different populations, including people suffering from trauma, anxiety, depression, ADHD, and addictions. And aside from all these multiple hats and her very busy career, Danielle is a mother of 4 beautiful children. So, again, thank you so much, Danielle, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. And I'm really excited to jump into these questions with you.
Thank you. As I said, thank you for having me. This is how I stay inspired. So I'm just so excited. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm excited to get to know you. So let's jump in. So tell us about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you do so that our viewers can get to know you a little bit.
Cool. Okay, so first of all, I made Aliyah from New York about 18 years ago. So I am going on this time period where I'm almost here the same amount of time that I was in New York. That being said, I still completely identify as an Ole, and I'm still writing things on Facebook all the time, like, how do I figure out which bank account to do for my kids? Or, so I really do still very much feel like a recent Ole, even though it's been a while.
I know how you
Um,
feel. I'm also 18 years here, so yeah.
it's like, it's,
2003? Yeah.
yeah, okay, maybe
Crazy.
I'm 17 years here. I don't even know anymore. There you go. But that's really cool. So, yes. I live in Modi'in, and I have 4 awesome kids ranging from age 16 down to 9. They keep me busy probably most of the time when I'm not doing all these other awesome things, which I would love to share with you. So when I came to Israel, I actually knew that I already wanted to go into psychology. And I came here for my junior year of college because I was like, I'm staying, I'm doing something amazing, but I got to do it in Israel. I had this like really strong heart all the way back then. And then I stayed here. And from then until now, I've been kind of both studying and working in a huge range of what I would call more of like the creative arts type therapies, and fitness and self-defense is like a huge part of just who I am. So putting those together has been kind of like this amazing path, which I'm guessing a lot of your questions are going to totally get
Yeah,
to
for
that.
sure.
So just very, very brief summary. I am someone who just lives and breathes both therapy and fitness, and my whole dream and passion, and I just want to keep putting them together so people can benefit in one place. And that's kind of like, I don't know, a very big summary of where I am right now, where I
I
came
love
from.
your energy and your passion. It's like just giving me goosebumps just listening to you. You're amazing.
As long as I don't make you dizzy, I've been told I have to sit still a little bit sometimes. So you can say that too.
All good, all good. So, let's start from the very beginning. What was young Danielle like? Were you always so energetic and passionate about fitness and therapy?
Yeah. Yeah, I was. I think my 8th grade yearbook said like something like Danielle's going to be the next Peekaboo Streets, which apparently was this big skier back then. I loved all sports. I grew up I was like that little 6-year-old on the double diamond black double diamond mountain with no poles on skiing, if that makes any. I loved being like fearless when it came to sports. I grew up in an interesting town, actually, in Suffolk County, New York, where we didn't have a religious community per se, and we were part of this kind of like Kiriv community with a very small school, and there was no professional hugim or anything for sports that I could go into as a religious girl where I lived. So it was an interesting kind of feeling growing up. But when I was 14, and this is like all tied into who I am and what I do. When I was 14, I got hit by a car, and I actually shattered everything from here down. Like,
wow.
Right now, today, I have metal in my right leg bone, my main one. My knees are all over the place. But at 14, I remember being in the ambulance, and I was like looking at this guy who I found out later was like one of those paramedics that was at my high school, because he came up to me later and he was like, "Oh, I saw you and you were all fueled out, whatever." But I remember saying to him, and he reminded me, I was like, "Am I going to play basketball again?" And like they were literally giving me blood inside the ambulance. I hope I'm not painting too gross of a picture, but it was really an intense moment of like, oh my God, sports are my life. What's going to happen now? Like what, So from then until now, I would say is still a part of me healing all of that in one, which is very much why I feel so passionate about this type of therapy. It's, oh my God. But even, and I don't want to stop too much here, but at the time I had been in a very bad abusive relationship, which as a nice little Jewish girl, that like didn't jive well in our community. And this accident happening during this whole thing was kind of like this huge turning point, where I started to kind of develop this thread that I'm realizing now is like my kind of mantra and my theme, which is, if you have a skill, if you have something to offer someone, you do it. You be who you truly are. And I really feel from back then, having all of this going on at that time, it was just this amazing wake-up call, and I'm still putting together how to use that now. So yeah.
So you already jumped into our next question. So we wanted to talk a little bit about boxing therapy and how you figured it out and how it could help people, and if you had a personal story around it, how it came to life. So
Absolutely. And yes, you exactly know that we hit on that already. So after probably about a 2-year recovery, after this car accident, I was about 16, and I felt myself starting to kind of like build a little bit. And I decided back then that whatever I did in life, it was going to be to make sure that people who are in abusive relationships have a way out. And the reason I'm saying that is because anyone who's ever been in an abusive relationship, until you're after it, you don't realize that you were stuck in exactly that textbook moment where everyone around you is like, leave, run, they're hurting you. And all you're thinking inside is, this is my life. This is it. There's almost nothing outside of that. It's the expected. There's so many psychological reasons, but not to go too deep. It was really back then that I knew there was something there that I wanted to fix and heal, and in myself and in the world. But interestingly enough, it wasn't until probably about 8 years ago, when I was working at Crossroads, which is an unbelievable organization that helps Anglo teenagers here in Israel. And I had been working there maybe like 5-6 years already at the time, utilizing all kinds of creative things with kids. Like, we built a music room, we did music therapy, we had a video game room. My favorite therapy sessions were playing Super Smash Brothers with these amazing players. You have no idea the insights. But it was about 5 years in or so when we actually got a grant to do an empowerment program for teenage girls. And I was like, I take Krav Maga. I teach sometimes when my trainer's away. Let's do it. I had no idea when we offered a free Krav Maga class for teenagers that we were going to have, I think we crammed in like 30 girls into our Modo, and it was crazy. And it was maybe an 8-week program. And what I realized was right away when someone would go to punch, right? And I'm glad I brought these in here. Like you see these little focus mitts, you know? So when someone would punch, it was very clear to me when someone had something that made it hard for them to even hit this pad, to make this physical contact. That cue was huge. And I've always been very into asking for, you know, like, can I work with you? Can I hold my pet? Do you want to hit this? I've always asked questions. And what I found there was that when I asked questions, like, do you mind if I touch you even? I had girls saying, whoa. And it was like this diagnostic tool of, okay, there's something more. So this first program, it was about empowerment and it was about building oneself through boundaries. And that's where it kind of like hit me really hard that there is so much more that we could be using with our fighter spirit. When a person taps into their own ability to be safe and strong, it's like a whole world opens up. But when we're behind that, don't touch me because we know what's happened in the past when someone's touched me, or don't get close, whatever it is that's stopping someone. It was so clear in this arena that this could be a tool to get in, to kind of just jump over. So that was already, I don't know, like I'm estimating like 8-9 years. And since then, it's been a really cool path of, oh my God, just so many different types of ways to try out martial arts for healing. So I don't want to ramble. I can more.
No, but you actually already touched on our next question, so you can continue on that. Like we actually wanted to understand, like, what is it about boxing exactly that helps specifically compared to other sports or martial arts? Is it just the concentration, the focus, that they belong to a group, that there's this touch that you mentioned, or is it a little bit of everything? What is it exactly about boxing?
All your words, your feet, I'm like getting so passionate. I'm like, yes, 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 and yes. Yes. Okay, so yes. And I will say that I'm a big believer that healing and therapeutic help comes in a lot of forms. So even though I mainly hold boxing pads, many of my kids that I work with, actually, I'm going to say even an adult or two, really benefits from all kinds of sports and playing within this sports arena. So what I'm going to be speaking about is specific to boxing, and I'll explain why, but I want to just kind of open up this kind of idea that playing within our bodies is in and of itself a very kind of wholesome experience. When I say playing, it could be you're playing basketball. It could be that you're, you know, playing a board game, but just being in the moment within our bodies. So boxing specifically, let me get onto that. When we're feeling any sort of emotion that we would attach either pain, anger, frustration, I'll say for the public, like what we would call like a negative emotion. Now, I don't like to say positive or negative emotion because emotions are here as messengers. They're here to tell us something. They're here to tell us, hey, you're not comfortable right now. Do something about it. They're here to say, someone made you mad. Let's figure that out. They're a ways, right? So they're not necessarily negative, but things like pain and fear and anger, they take up a part of us that I have found when a person links into those hormones that get secreted, it's a very biological thing. I'm not going to geek out too much on these things, but whenever these systems are getting started, our whole body goes into it. So with boxing and actually martial arts in general, the ability to move, first of all, back and forth. Okay. So we're putting some physical kind of, we're making like a physical moment within your bodies that's latching on to these emotions. So when you're angry, it's easy to say, okay, when you're angry and you punch, right? Duh. It's like, oh my God, I'm validating the fact that I've had this anger and I feel it. So it's giving this kind of tool, this way to let it out. Similar to pain. It's an interesting thing to compare it, but someone who, let's say, does self-harm knows that the second they do that, there's an entire endorphin system that gets released. And it's kind of what I'm noticing is similar, but coming from an outlet that's more on the healthy side, thank God, when you're hitting and when you're letting things out, you're taking the emotional experience that you're having and you're doing something physical in the moment that gives it form. So once we have some form, let's say it's someone who's really let's say someone going through a really, really hard separation, and they're so angry and they don't know what to do with it. So you can go to therapy, and it's important to talk it out. And I do that also, which I'll get to how it works together. But imagine this person going into a room and first talking about it a little bit, but then getting to actually physically say, I'm really mad that this is happening. I wish it would have been like this. Why am I it's all about expectations when we're angry. We think we should have had something, we didn't, we think so, right? So as soon as you're letting yourself recognize, hey, this is really going on right now, it's a validation of letting it out. The healing then happens as you start to play with it. And again, I'm using the word play to mean in the moment. As you're really in the moment, it's almost like a stress ball. If you ever squeeze a stress ball, it helps because your muscles squeeze. It's validating. It's matching what your mind is going through. You're feeling tense, so you squeeze all your muscles. So one way to relax is you squeeze it, and then you feel the relaxation after because of the contrast. So what I'm finding amazing in this boxing, in this kind of latching that emotional thing with the physical, once that's, let's say, 10, 15 minutes, and we all know what a good sweat does anyway, right? The endorphins, unbelievable. So once that's happening, we can then go in and start to actually look at those feelings and say, okay, this anger is coming out. It's been underneath for a very long time. What do we want to do with it? Let's start from the beginning. Maybe we need to sit with it more. Maybe we're going to feel the anger a little bit more. Maybe it's the only thing on a person's mind, and we need to wrap it up nicely and leave it in the boxing therapy gym so that the anger can have a place. It can stay here. Do you see what I mean? There's this language. Once we've said the emotion has a place in the boxing, and I really do a lot of Krav Maga within it, by the way. It's not just boxing because and this is where I'll wrap up a little bit on it, but the Krav Maga piece, the reason I do Krav Maga in it is that the boxing that I have learned and trained in is strictly ICCS, which is an amazing system of Krav Maga in Jerusalem, which if anyone wants to know, oh my God, she's a teacher that's teaching there since I moved to Jerusalem. Oh my God, she's amazing. But from Krav Maga, because the basis is if you're going to be protecting yourself, your safety, your physical body, that's one of Maslow's needs. That's like food and shelter, your own security. So when you're boxing, because it's actually, you see how my shoulders come up, I'm not just like, hey, let's feel it. I'm really helping. I want people to really know how do you protect yourself? How do you feel safe? And how does it get kind of mirrored in your body? So to make a very long story, because again, all this is being researched now. I got some research going on in Florida, which we'll talk about. To put this all together, the boxing can be compared, let's say, to what drama is in drama therapy or art in art therapy. It's a tool that can be used for the containment, the processing, the validation. It's not in and of itself the thing.
Can you also maybe help patients figure out that there's pain or anger underneath when they don't even know that it's there through the boxing? You know what I mean? So some people feel angry and they know they're angry, but some people are repress some emotions, and can it come out?
Sarah, absolutely. And it's interesting because I move in and out of the role of trainer in a physical sense to therapist. I've found that I'm very careful to use that as a skill. Meaning when someone is coming because they're coming for boxing therapy and they know they have a challenge, when this is happening, that's a reflective piece that I'm asking permission all the time. Is this something we can go into together? I'm noticing that while we're talking about this person, you're punching a little harder. Is there relevance to that? Is that something you'd like to talk about now? These are ways, the permission from a person when they don't even know something's bothering them is so important, because it's not permission to me. Who am I? It doesn't matter that I'm in the room. It's permission for a person who's all of a sudden maybe recognizing for the first time some heavy feelings. So yes, I do notice this a lot. It's part of the work, just like in any therapy. I tend to be a very transparent therapist in the sense that if I have like a theory in my head, my clients know I'm going to say it. And I don't like thinking things and wondering. And it's not, the person I'm working with is the expert on their life. And I'm coming in. So if I'm noticing something, I'm going to try and find a way to very sensitively ask. And if it's a client that has nothing to do with the therapy, this is where I'm really struggling. I have to tell you, because I still have some and some. It's really hard. It's so hard to take off this social worker hat when I see, I just want to like, let's have some more.
Amazing. I'm wondering also if the endorphins play into it as well, like of a good, boxing session. Like myself, like after a good CrossFit session, I like feel good for like hours after. It just shapes up my day. So
I have a feeling, and this is why I'm really trying to spread the groups that I have down in Florida. I'm really trying to do research on. I wish that I could set this up already. It'll take a little time, on a group of people that have boxing therapy, which has the talking into the therapy. We sometimes box once in a month, and sometimes we box every time. I would love to have like a focus group and test the same type of goal. Let's say trauma healing. And, watch if someone went to boxing, straight up boxing versus boxing therapy, what type of kind of experience. Because as you're saying, I think that anyone who commits to allowing their body to go through this type of hormone change and endorphins and everything, exactly as you're saying, benefits. There's no way around that. And your life automatically kind of goes with that, because when you're healthier, you make better choices, right? Every moment is just a more you moment. So I want to test this more, and I don't know the answer exactly. And I want to, but the endorphins plays a huge part, because I have clients that come in and they're like, a really hard week. My kids are driving me insane. And if I have to make another cheese toast, I'm going to shoot someone, right? And then I'm like, I totally hear you. And I always match. And, like, I'm not going to be my ex when someone's like, I'm like, oh my God, yeah. And then when we start to go into the session, I'm like, you know what? Do you want to take 5 minutes to just stretch with me, and we'll see how we feel? And then while we're talking, we're stretching. And just because I never just box right away, you can't just sit. When when a person's kickboxing, you can a little bit more, but when you're actually making impact, every ligament that's part of the process, which literally is from your toe all the way up when it comes to boxing, has to have some type of warming up. Otherwise, you can get injured. So if I'm with a client who's like, right, I'm going to make sure, and I'm going to ask, let's warm up. So those endorphins, even in that moment, are like, it already starts and it helps, and it's part of the process. I wish this was part. I started a training for social workers to just be able to hold pads. Let's stand up and do jumping jacks even, it's a real thing, endorphins and serotonin, and
Amazing. So we have actually a question from the viewers that is relevant here. Does boxing therapy work better with some population than others?
It's a really good question that I'm really trying to test out. I know the populations. No, because you want to know something? I say it in this way of test out because I know this is a new thing. There is trauma-sensitive martial arts. There's therapeutic martial arts. There's different people that have done different things with it, but it's so new that there's very little that's actually like, found about it. Wait, what was your question?
Let's go back.
Back. I loved it. It was right in front of the only time I saw it, it went out. Oh, there you go.
Sorry.
So the reason I'm saying that is because I really feel very blessed and very lucky that all the populations that I have had sessions with, either in an individual or a group level, has been way more successful than I expected. And it's almost funny to say that because I want it to not work with someone. But it's really interesting. Just this week, for instance, I did my first session with someone who is lower functioning on the autistic spectrum than I'm used to. I have a couple kids that I work with who are clearly on the spectrum, but they would have been called Asperger's before there was like no separation. And so this week, for instance, I worked for the first time with someone on the spectrum. And I mean, the reaction was amazing because here's someone who doesn't want anyone in their space. And anytime I made a joke, which you can see I'm a very jokey person, I had to say, I'm joking now and get in their space. And I mean, it was beyond incredible. But specifically populations that I have found just, I mean, night and day with anyone who's experienced trauma in the past, anyone who's had their control taken away from them, because in and of itself, Krav Maga and boxing gives the control back. It doesn't only have to be someone who was chas v'shalom sexually abused or something on that. You know what I mean? Like anyone, when your control is taken away and then you're given this thing that says, you're strong, let's find your strengths. Because boxing, for me at least, is not, can you be a good boxer? Boxing for me is, how can you use your strength and your body to really express yourself? And what do you need to express, you know? And if it's just to be a good boxer, that's also great. Express yourself in that way. But so trauma in the past, ADHD is like beyond, I mean, I know for myself, as you can tell, I'm all over the place when it comes to ADHD, and boxing therapy is like, wow, I can spend 20 minutes focused straight with me, with any of my clients. It's a focuser. I find it beyond teenagers in general. My practice is really, really, I've always worked with teens. So that's like mainly what I work with. It's just because of my personality. And as I talked about from my past, when I was 14, it's like it's like my kishka, like what I want to help. So I find that it's like really cool, and it becomes this like stigma-free way of starting therapy. I have quite a few teens, I have to say, that started as boxing therapy, and we sit and talk most of the time. And I even ask them every once in a while. Yeah, I even ask, like, do you want to box again every once in a while? You know, and it's like sometimes yes, sometimes no. And it's so it kind of works as a little bit of like that cool starter. And another population that it works really, really well with, I'd say, is like moms like myself who you're doing okay in life, right? You don't have any mental health issue per se, and you're not someone who's going to go to therapy because you feel healthy, but you're just kind of like a little low energy and a little like so that's the kind of person that maybe they benefit from a CrossFit or a boxing class on a regular basis. But what I've been seeing is linking up a person's ability to be strong and find power within themselves allows choices later on. How do you get that power in the middle of your day? So I can't believe I'm only saying this 25 minutes in or whatever. All of my boxing is paired with mindfulness. So anytime we're doing boxing, it's because we've already learned, how are you going to go back into this calm state? How are you going to get your mind and your heart rate back to where you're going to be totally safe, right? If you're boxing, if you're going all over the place. So think about the moms that are at home. They don't necessarily want to open up all these files of old trauma and old stuff, but they can really benefit from help and from getting like a little bit more of that story out over time and getting strong. So I find that's really great. And the last population that I will bring up is any type of school age kid. I would really love to see this program in a lot of different schools. I want kids to be able to learn that it's cool to be strong. It's cool to protect other people, and it's cool to know how to do mindfulness and bring yourself back. So I go to schools. I bring these today. I was at Ariel. I love it. It's a mainstream school, and I'm in the courtyard, and you know we do lunch, and then kids go back into class, and instead of bouncing all over. Yeah. Anyway, that's been
so cool. We have a comment from someone. I like the idea of being so vulnerable, sweaty, dressed in sports clothes. I feel like everybody is more accessible like that. Let's remove our clothes, our barriers, and touch. No punch each other. Yeah.
Whoever wrote that in, I love it. I love it. I have someone who helps me. My friend Tracy, she's awesome. She's the one who designed my. I'm looking at. It's like mirrored image. Look at this. I'm like, hello. And her slogan, which I thought was really cool, that the talking happens when the gloves come off. Because it's true. You want to punch, you want to get out there, and then you know what? Then you finally you're vulnerable. I love that comment. Thank you to whoever sent that in. It's really awesome.
So can you talk to us a little bit more about the Ready for Anything program? How is it helping to support kids?
Okay, so first of all, Ready for Anything. I'm like so passionate. I'm even going to turn around and show you my back.
Ready for anything. Yay.
Yes! Colors and environment, and it's a really all-inclusive program. So Ready for Anything is right now happening in this cute little town in Florida called Melbourne. It's like an hour away from Orlando. Do you know it? You're shaking your head.
Okay. No,
Cool.
Melbourne is like Australia. That's what I know.
I know, that's why I'm like, I don't know. So what we're doing there is taking Israeli Krav Maga and boxing.
Oh.
And yeah, that's why I love it. I'm like, I can't believe I brought this down there. We got Krav Maga going on. What we're doing is an 8-week program that has now started into an ongoing support program. And it's specifically for kids in the foster care system. And actually not only kids in the foster care system, but the group of kids that age out. So when you turn 18 in America, if you were in the foster care system, you no longer have any support. It's like a minute before your 18th birthday and you had government paychecks and you had a family hosting you, and you turn 18 and it's like, it's crazy. So their rate for kids like this is like ridiculous. Actually, tomorrow we're meeting with the Juvenile Justice Department. I'm so excited. I want a blessing from everyone that this goes well, because that's going to hopefully be our biggest way to test this. But so this population are kids that have, in my opinion, the highest level of trauma, which is why we chose to work here specifically, because these kids have bounced around from home to home. They haven't had any choice of what's going to happen. They have very, very often been abused by the families that they were put into and had to stay. So it's people that even when they spoke up and tried to do something about it, they were taught it's not going to work. So it's kind of like the hardest of the. Yeah, it's like, oh my God, our first group of kids, I love them so much. It breaks my heart to think of what they go back to. But so what Ready for Anything is doing is it's an 8-week program that puts together DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy. It's a spinoff from CBT, which uses all emotional regulation tools. There's actually 4 modules, so I can just very, very quickly say it. There's mindfulness, being very in the moment and being able to return back to a calm mind. Emotion regulation, being able to say, I'm really excited, let's tone it down a little bit. Or I'm really angry and I need to, there's distress tolerance, the ability to feel challenging emotions and stick with it. It's like and then the other part is the interpersonal relationships. So these 4 modules make up the entire DBT, and it's almost like it was too good to be true, because this goes so hand in hand with how boxing therapy works. So boxing therapy in and of itself is a way for someone to know how to go from heart rate, like, for whatever reason, you're scared, whatever, to calm. And I have a lot of different techniques that we use for calming. So the mindfulness was so right in it already. And the emotion regulation, that's the whole goal. So it was like too much a part of what we're doing in the boxing. And the interpersonal relationship part, as a group, people who before this group maybe had a group, because they went to a GED class, or maybe they took a defensive driving class, but they're not in school, they're not in college. So it's the togetherness. It's the what we do in this program is have the kids actually hold these giant bags for other kids. None of this is contact, by the way. It's all non-contact for lots of reasons, but mainly for trauma, and we don't want to re-trigger anyone. So, but kids will hold these giant bags for another kid. And what we do in the training is we say to the kids, like, ask your partner how strong to hold the bag. Do they want it to swing back or not? Ask the partner, do they want you to count for them? So we're teaching them how to communicate, basic communication skills through the exercises. So it's been a really, really cool program. And my partner, who is this awesome social worker, she's actually a social worker for 1,800 kids in the public school system in Florida.
Wow.
And she's just so creative and out of the box, and
Superwoman.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a cool world down there. But I'm really hoping to keep trying this out with populations like this that really deserve it to be a tested therapy and not like an empirically proven, not just something that feels right. And I mean, the feedback was like, oh my God, it was incredible. And from all the probation officers from each kid, and like it clearly does something. So it's
wow.
cool.
You're really making an impact. We have one comment. Danielle, I love your smile. I hope you reach as many people as possible in your practice. Love.
Oh my God, thank you. You're so nice. I so appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
Okay. Aside from a very busy career, you're a mother of 4 children. So we want to know, how do you fit all of it in? Any
Okay.
advice for the women of our community who feel overwhelmed and struggle to prioritize their fitness?
Sure, come to boxing therapy. No, I'm just kidding. I love that question because it's a question that I'm asking myself every day, because I know when I am not living my own values in some way or my own beliefs, I go all wrong. Like I can tell in my life in general. And for me, my kids are my number one always. It's like so I really do struggle with anytime I'm going out for a client session, whatever it is, and my kids could use me in the house instead of a babysitter or someone else. I really struggle. I really still to this day, I'm working on not struggling because of guilt, because of course I'm a Jewish lady and I add a lot of it, but I'm working on feeling out when it's because it's not my value. My kids are young. I want to work. I want to help people. I need to work. I need to feed them, right? So it's obviously, but I really do struggle with it. I think what helps me with the whole balance is that I try and see, wow, this is really interesting that this is what I'm realizing. I try to see the week as I want to accomplish all the goals that I want to accomplish. And I put it in my calendar. I'm a very scheduled person, even though it's not my personality at all. My personality is spontaneous. I need to feel the energy to do it. I'm an intuitive person. So I have to learn how to say, hold on, I'm working towards this goal. That means I have to put it into my calendar. It's really hard, but I'm doing it. I even schedule times for my kids. I have a 16-year-old son.
Wow.
I mean, if we don't schedule a time to hang out, it's really hard. It's really but what I would say is I think that the biggest thing that helps me is keeping as healthy as I can and forgiving myself and being really loving and understanding when it doesn't all meet it. Like my closest friends know my statement at the end of the day is, I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, and I'm so angry, and I'm like, I just wanted to do that and that. And it's at those moments where I have to take a deep breath and I have to be like, your goals are getting accomplished, and it's okay if we can't get to everything. And I have to constantly be reminding myself that. And lastly on that, I have to just say eating good meals. I'm always on the go. And I think that it sounds funny, but it's such a physical, nourishing, it's like if I can stop and do that, it means, hold on, I'm doing okay. My kids are getting taken care of. And so that first, like, it's a joke. Everyone always says, the gas mask come down, you put it on you first, but it's like, it's not a value of mine to do that. It's a value of mine to take care of my kids. And I have to remind myself, like, duh, I'm a person. I was a kid. Now I'm an adult. I got to take care of me. So it's a hard one.
Amazing.
But
So especially during the Corona times, can you give our listeners some general basic advice of things they can do to release some stress and anxiety on their own?
I love that question. Okay. So I think, first of all, this word called self-care, it's actually 2 words, but self-care, it sounds very kitschy, but it's just so unbelievably important. I think it's really, really important for each of us to find what self-care is for us. It's very easy to say that everyone feels refreshed when they work out. And I'd love to say, oh, work out and you'll be great. But a lot of times we need something else first before we can commit to the things that will really make us refreshed. And during Corona, when we have so many things, like our families can't come in, and so there's so many unpredictable things, I think it's really important for each of us to find what we enjoy, what we feel good doing, and make sure that that's part of the day. I know so many people that I've just been like, get a nice coffee in the middle of the day because you're treating yourself and then you feel good. So I think each of us finding what it is that helps us feel relief and cared about, and for us each to know that even though it's amazing when it comes from someone else, it's incredible when we get cared about, when we get, come work out with us or whatever it is. But in the end of the day, if anyone's feeling stuck, or if you're feeling like you can't, or just to know that there is a choice. I don't know what the choice is. I don't want to say that to someone who just had a back problem and really can't get up, because if if they want to get up and they can't get up, it sucks. And I feel so bad even saying, oh, you have a choice. Oh, no. But for each of us to find that choice, to find that ability to be our best in that second. And I think that really comes with the self-care and knowing who we are and what's important. So I hope we can all help each other to do that. And guys, we all need each other for this. So we're
Yeah.
all in it together. Reach out, reach out to me, and right, I feel like we're all in this boat.
Yeah, definitely. Our community was created during the Corona times, believe it or not. So, like, it's been only a year and a half. So,
You
we
did this
felt
in a year and a half. Can I just bring that say for all the listeners, Sarah, you're incredible. I'm serious. That's
it
crazy.
really just came out from my need to have this, like, self-care, having like I missed this whole like community feeling that I had at my CrossFit, and I wanted to create it online during Corona times, and like it exploded because everybody needed the same thing. We needed support, we needed
Real,
empowerment, we needed to
real.
be together, and
Yeah.
it grew into this such an amazing, supportive community of badass women that, you know, we're all like sisters now. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh. I am so, that's like so cool to hear that that's when it got started. I don't know. I feel that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we want to bring awareness of the benefits of being strong, especially for women. So what do you think are the everyday health benefits of being a strong woman?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start. First of all, osteoporosis runs in my family. So I'll just say right away, thank God I lift weights because there's
Mm,
actual bone regeneration happening every time
mm,
I'm doing any kind of healthy weight. So there's
mm,
physical reasons why when we keep our bodies healthy, we can actually reverse even like degenerative diseases, which is crazy if you
mhm,
think about because anytime, I mean, when you think about muscles, right? They're like strings. I always wear string bracelets so I can do this.
mm,
Muscles are like strings. So when you work out, we break a few and then when we leave room for them to get stronger and woven together like this amazing thing, this strong, right? So I see my own body like that. And I really encourage other women to see their bodies as it's a building block. And we
mm,
don't want to be crazy and have to do too much on our body if that's not where we are in life because we have to focus on other things. We need our energy for everything. But just to know that as much as we're able to, that's what we have to work with. And I can 100% say that the more energy we have, the more energy you get to have. Meaning, when
mm,
you work out, we know this because we work out. So we
mhm,
feel strong because that's what it gives us. So, as much as anyone can just start something and feel it, it's not just because it physically helps you in life, it really feels good. Like, it's amazing to feel strong enough. I know if I'm late to pick up my daughter from school, I can run to get her. That feeling for me is like, whoa, yeah, I can do that. You know what I mean? It's like a weird, so I really encourage people in general to find their own like what would you want to get up to and then
right.
start. Not to beat oneself up because they're not there, but to be really proud of like I'm a woman and that's it. I wish I was wearing it right now. My new shirt, I have one here, is fight like a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Also really like builds your confidence to be strong and to like achieve new like isegim. How do you say it in English? But to get to new achievements, like to get to your goals. I actually crushed one of my goals today, which was to jump a box jump. So it's not the first time that I do a box jump, but I my first box jump was in January, and it was a goal for 2021, and I crushed it already in January. I was really proud of myself. But then during a workout of 100 box jumps, at the number 99, I fell on the box and opened my shins and had to be rushed to the emergency and had 3 stitches. So
Oh
that
my
was in
gosh.
June, and since then I've been terrified,
Huh?
exponentially
Understandably.
terrified of doing box jumps. Like I was
Gosh.
terrified before, but like now it was like really scared.
That's
But
amazing.
slowly but surely, like I started like, doing step ups instead of jumping, and then using the smaller box instead of the bigger box. And today I told my coach like I'm doing it. And like it took at least like 2 minutes of just looking at the box, and I tried like until I finally got it. But after that, like your confidence like once I did it, like my confidence was high, like the whole day, like I'm still
Oh,
like excited about it, and it just like spreads to the rest of your day. It
that is,
spreads everywhere.
oh my God. I have goosebumps. Thanks for sharing that. Yes, it really does. And the fact that you pushed through that, I feel like that's just, you know what? Maybe it's fitness because you get to see it right in the moment. If you have a goal to lift that or to do that, you get to physically see it. You feel the accomplishment. There's so many things in life that have like slow little growth, and they're just as
Mhm.
important. The fact that you got
Yeah,
to physically watch, you did this, you got back on that box jump. That's a confidence. That's exactly. I feel like that is so, the way you just bottled that is exactly right on.
I feel like
Unbelievable.
I'm gonna like ride on this high for a few days just from this one box jump, and
More
it's
than a
such
few
one.
days. Anytime you go in box jump. Legit. That's crazy.
Um, okay, so our next question. So, women who lift Israel's community of strength training, women is growing every day, and more than half of our members identify themselves as completely new to all forms of strength training.
Mhm.
So, what advice do you have for women who are just starting on their fitness journey?
Mm. Okay, that's a great question. My first thing that I would say is enjoyment in the process is really important. I see a lot of people when they start and they want to get to a certain goal, there's almost like this pressure and this like negative talk of like, gotta do it, just you should do
Mm,
better, and why aren't you already at that? And I mean, honestly, like the real like gut feeling that I have with anyone is cut the negative,
mhm.
just blah, just to find a way, whether it's with good support or really slow, but to find a way to actually enjoy it. Maybe it's to find a fitness thing that's like kind of fun in it. So for
Mhm.
instance, if you really hate fitness, but you have to exercise because it's life, maybe you might enjoy the leg press a little more than the squat under the bar because it's uncomfortable to not know if you're going to drop it on yourself. Or there's ways to find, it doesn't have to be painful. I do
Right,
not believe in no pain no gain. It's like this, I feel like our human society is raised on this just because we know we have to be uncomfortable to reach goals. I get it. We can't, we do have to push through things, but it's not meant to be a pressurizing, beat yourself up. It
right.
completely the opposite way. And I think I will say also is that find it as much as one can to feel proud of even making the decision to be a part of this, because it's a lifelong process. Our
Mhm.
health, thank God, right? It's our bodies for the rest of our lives. So to remind ourselves that it's one part of who we are, and our minds and all of the things in our lives are so important. They're just as important. All of, right? Whatever we each as individuals decide to spend our energy on. And so I think when we get started in, it's great. We can feel excited, but to do as much as possible to not have it a pressure and a squishing, but more of a life opening. And
Right.
it's hard.
And
It's
find
really
something
hard.
you love. Like you said, it needs to be enjoyable. So like there's different forms of strength training or
Yeah.
fitness. Like if you don't like weightlifting, like, you can do Pilates or like
Yeah.
yoga. Like there's different types of things. Like do the thing you love so that you stick to it. It needs to be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. And when it's not fun, because there's many days that I wake up and I'm like, I'm not in the mood to, right? Like, and that's okay. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
there's anything wrong, that we're not lazy. I don't believe in laziness, by the way. I
Mhm.
think it's the most ridiculous word.
I
When
can't
we're
imagine
lazy,
you being lazy
no,
ever.
no one is lazy. No one is lazy. We have reasons. We have things happening. We have other
Mm,
things. Maybe we actually really need to sit down and put our feet up, and that's
right.
okay too. It's like a real,
Hmm.
I don't know. So I think it's really, yeah, exactly like that.
Okay, so I would love to give you the opportunity to talk directly to our members about anything that is important to you that we haven't covered already. Is there anything you would like to share with our community?
Yeah, I'm feeling so strongly right now after, I mean, I'm inspired just hearing the way you're asking questions and how much this is like part of you. And I
Hmm.
feel like just telling everyone, you're enough. Everything that you are, whoever's watching right now, the whole community, you as an individual are
Wow.
enough. And you don't need to be anything you're not. And actually, it's exactly the opposite. Being who you are is exactly right. And
It's
how
what we
can
need.
how can we be more of that, right? And you know, it's not easy, I have to say. It's like, oh, it's so nice to say, like, oh, let's just be ourselves, like finding what we love and really understanding the balance of how much we work on one thing versus another, or how much we spend time with our kids versus going out with friends, or these are all things we find. And whenever if we lose our temper and we're upset about it and we beat ourselves up, like these are all parts of long-term like life processes. But to just know that is right because it's you is so important, and our feelings are important and our bodies are important, and it's not to be overwhelmed by it, but to allow ourselves to have our bodies as a place where we're safe, and whatever shape, whatever size, but to know that that's our journey, and it's a beautiful journey. It's a hard one, but it's you know, so everyone, I really believe in you. I really believe in you the way I believe in myself, and I just love that we can all be together on this.
Amazing. So I'm going to jump into some of the questions that were asked from the community. So, hi Danielle, I love your smile and energy. Can you share an example client case where boxing therapy worked really well, maybe with someone that wasn't accessible any other way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a teenager that I'm working with right now that I don't want to give like any details. I'm going to
Yeah,
be
of course.
changing things. But around the age 16, 17, like the higher age, and they refused to go to therapy. There was nothing that they would go to. And they were at the point where they were leaving school. It was crazy. They came to this boxing gym. I work at a fight club, which is like it's literally boxing bads. It doesn't look anything like therapy. And they walked in for the first time because they were forced, okay? And when teens are forced into therapy, it's really hard. Okay, they walked in and they looked around and they're like, I can do this. It was crazy. And it was like, what do you mean? And I had literally spoken to 3 therapists before and a psychiatrist who was like, good luck with that one. I can't even like, so, okay, fast forward 6 months or whatever it was, there was major, major abuse going on at home.
Oh
Major,
no.
major abuse. I have to tell you, I am so thankful for what has come out as a result. I almost feel bad that I'm choosing this as my example, but either way, what came out was that there was so much being covered up, and this poor kid was living, making sure that no one knew that they were getting hurt.
Wow. Wow.
I want to cry, but it was like, thank God. Why? Because it's really not anything to be afraid of when you walk in and it's like, oh, we're going to do sports. We're going to punch. We're going to, you know, so that was like a little bit of an extreme one that I would say. Can I bring one more just in
Yeah,
case?
of course, of course.
A girl who's a little
As
bit
many
younger.
as you want.
I mean, I go whatever, but a girl who she just has very little communication skills, and can't sit still. They were about to send for like real neurological testing for whatever ADHD medicine, and I think she's around 10 or 11 or so. But what we're doing in our room is skills all the time. So what happens when you're in the middle of the classroom and you feel ants in your pants? You don't know how to just feel it and raise your hand and say, teacher, I need to run around. So instead, you'll knock the kid's thing over next to you. And examples like this over time, what we've been doing is actually taking those experiences while we're boxing, while we're talking, and saying, okay, so what can we do in that moment? First, you identified that feelings happening. Now, what do we do with it? So in the boxing room, there's the breathing techniques. There's the things that bring her back to remind her when she's in her classroom even, oh, I can communicate. So those are 2 that are just like coming up right now. It's
Amazing.
Every person is so unique,
Super inspiring.
and so like, different stuff. It's crazy.
Okay, maybe that's an easy one. Where do you practice in Israel?
Okay, I practice, thank God, over Zoom because of COVID. So I have to say, it really is all over Israel. It's hard. I used to not enjoy it. Now I love Zoom, but it's hard.
Okay.
My offices are in Modi'in. I travel right now to Cholon a little bit. I travel to Rishon, Jerusalem, but I really enjoy when people are able to come to me. I'm working out of Fight Club, which is in Shilat, and out of We Care, which is an amazing therapy center office right in the new center of Modi'in, which is stunning. It's so fun. If anyone wants to
I
come
saw
and
a picture
visit.
you posted. It looks so good. It's so nice.
Yeah, it's a cool place. So mainly right here in Modi'in, and also, yeah, that's here in
And all your collaboration with Florida is done online, I'm assuming.
Okay, so I flew in to do all the training, and it was
Mhm.
awesome. And when I flew in, we hired someone to take a video of the training. So we actually have it all on video. So the training happens, both videos that they get to watch when we have to train in new social workers.
Mm.
But I'm going to have to go there again in a little while. And all of the support, we do supervision, just like any other therapist has supervision on Zoom. So it's pretty cool that we're able to keep this going like that.
Amazing. So, last question. Is it group therapies or one-on-one therapies?
Both.
Both.
Completely both. And the same way drama therapy and art therapy is really beautiful in both group and individual. They have their benefits. When you're alone with the therapist, you have your own whole slate in front of you and it's fully focused. When you're in a group, there's so much that gets validated by other people sharing the experience.
Mm.
So it
Mm.
really, really, really is both. And I find that everyone's different and people benefit. Sometimes people need groups just because of finances, but it's
Mhm,
great
mhm.
because if a group is cheaper and then you're able to share in the experience, that's also really, really valuable. So it's really, really both.
Great. Okay, so we've come to the end of our interview. So, to end the interview on a positive note, give us a few last words of inspiration
Okay.
from the heart, and what is your motto in life and why?
If you don't mind, I'd like to do something and invite everyone with us for it. So I think that that will summarize much better
Okay.
what I feel and how we can be our best selves. So I don't know how I sat for that long. I purposely made the computer higher so I knew that I could stand, but I want to just take a moment to kind of give a little example and invite anyone who's watching to kind of just do this along with me. And then I'll summarize it after what we just did and hopefully give a little tool. So if everyone can just either sit or stand very comfortably and very supported, and just pick up your hands as you take a deep breath in. And we're going to hold it for a second. And then we're going to come and let it out nice and slow until the middle. And then empty out all the air. No more air left. We're going to take one more breath and we're going to let the air go right down deep into those nerve endings this time. So we're going to take a deep breath in again. We're going to let it out slowly. Now, I want whoever's with us here, get your hands up. I invite you now to take your fist. Okay, we're going to squeeze as tight as you want, and we're going to hold our body in a beautiful ready stance, which means one leg is behind the other if you're standing. And together
I
with me,
need to stand. I need to stand.
you need to stand. Everyone, let's stand up. See these feet. Look at these feet. I got one in front of the other. This is what I call ready position. That's why we're ready for anything. We're in ready position. So together with me, we're going to punch 10 times back and forth. And I want us to just feel that rhythm. Feel it going. So here we go. 10 times. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And in this ready position again, we're going to do one more breathing, but it looks like this. We have the fight, flight, and freeze responses that automatically happen, right? So we're going to breathe with it. We're going to take a deep breath on the fight. Just breathe. Right? We're going to run. We're going to get into our bodies back and forth because we're ready to run, right? Sometimes we want to run. We're going to breathe. Beautiful. Now, freeze. Take a moment, one more breath. Now, what am I doing? Why am I keeping us going at the end of all this? What I believe in is taking action. So here I am, I'm telling you about all this stuff, but when we experience it, when we do it with ourselves, we get to really live and do it. So I believe in us having an ability to feel safe. Our breathing, what am I teaching you by punching breathing and running breathing is there's a place where we can get centered and where we can calmly make decisions. And when we're flooding, when we're having any emotion, whatever it is, they're not bad. They can come in and we can say, oh, I'm feeling something because I just breathed and I felt it. Maybe my heart rate's going a little fast because I just punched, but let me calm it down and breathe. So my message I would say to everyone is find that place where you know you feel safe and allow yourself to go there and be there. And remember, it's okay to have something to bring you back in the moment. I think if there's one thing that anyone's going to remember after all of this, maybe you'll remember a few other things, but if there's one thing, it's find an ability to get back in the moment. When we talk about mindfulness, that's what it is. When you're in the here and now, you can take a little baby step one after the other. But to bring it back, to be able to do that, it's a skill and it takes practice. And it's okay to practice. We're not supposed to be good at these things as humans, right? So I think just to really know how to be safe and secure, and if you're not, to seek out a way to do that. If there's mental health challenges, anxiety, depression, these are real things. They deserve care, and they're not easy to breathe through, right? So when we need some help, we get it. And if we don't need it outside, to be able to, from inside ourselves, know that it's okay, get centered. And that's the place we think.
Amazing, Danielle. Thank you so much for joining us. I learned so much for you. I think I'm going to be on this high frequency for a few days after speaking to you. I'm like,
no, that's your box jump, girl.
It's just being accumulating over the box jump. So yeah, I have a good week ahead of me of endorphins. Can you share with everybody how they can find you on social media, online?
Okay, so on Facebook, I am Danielle Salber Popovitz. On Instagram, you can find me at Danielle Pop Fitness. My maiden name's Popovitz, and I used to be really into this whole like, let's do pop fitness wherever we are. We're gonna pop up fitness classes. But my best is just call me, WhatsApp. All my information's on my Facebook. And yeah, keep in touch. I really love speaking with people that are interested in it, even if you don't want my services, because this is getting developed like right now in the here and now. So I'm encouraging people to please reach out if you're interested in this. If you want to be a part of it, I'm actually right now training other social workers and other boxing coaches to be able to give this method. So just be in touch, not only to please, I'd love to work with you, but if you're interested in learning more and getting involved on a bigger level, it'd be really great to speak.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Danielle. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Continue being you.
Oh my God, you as well, girl. This is unbelievable. Thank you for everything you do to be together like this.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.